I called the cops on the teenager who tracked down my house and was demanding I let him in. Last summer, I was working from home when I heard aggressive banging on my front door. I looked through the peephole and saw this kid who couldn't have been older than 17. He was wearing a dirty hoodie and kept pounding on the door while yelling, "Open up! I know you're in there!" I had no clue who this kid was. I yelled through the door asking what he wanted. He shouted back that he needed to talk to me about his mom and that I better let him in right now or else. The "or else" part really freaked me out. I asked him who his mom was and he screamed, "Jessica, you know exactly who I'm talking about." Problem is, I didn't know any Jessica. This whole thing started 3 weeks earlier when I got matched with someone on a dating app. Her profile said she was 28 and worked in marketing. We texted for a few days and she seemed cool. Normal conversations about work and hobbies. She asked if I wanted to meet up for coffee and I said sure. When I got to the coffee shop, I immediately knew something was off. The woman who showed up looked way older than her photos and definitely not 28. More like 45. She had this desperate energy and kept talking about how lonely she was and how hard it was being a single mom. I tried to be polite, but it was awkward as hell. She kept steering the conversation toward her personal life and how she needed someone stable in her life. When I mentioned I worked in tech, she got really interested in my salary. Red flags everywhere. After an hour, I made up an excuse about having to get back to work and left, but she wouldn't let it go. She started texting me constantly, like 30 messages a day, asking when we could hang out again and telling me about her problems with her ex-husband and her kid. I tried being nice at first and just said I wasn't looking for anything serious right now. That made her more aggressive. She started calling me selfish and saying I led her on. Then she somehow found my Instagram and started commenting on old photos asking why I was ignoring her. I blocked her, but she made new accounts. Eventually, I had to block like 6 different profiles. Then came the Facebook messages from accounts with weird names and no profile pictures, all asking why I broke up with Jessica and calling me a heartbreaker. It was clearly her making fake accounts. I ignored all of it, hoping she'd move on. But apparently, she told her son some twisted version of what happened because that's how I ended up with this angry teenager at my door. He kept banging and yelling about how I hurt his mom and made her cry every night. He said she told him I promised to marry her and then ghosted her for no reason. I tried explaining through the door that his mom was lying, but he wasn't having it. He started threatening to break my windows if I didn't come out and face him like a man. That's when I called 911. The cops showed up in like 10 minutes. The kid was still there pacing around my front yard and muttering to himself. I watched through the window as they talked to him. He was getting really animated and pointing at my house. One of the officers came to my door and I explained everything. How I went on one bad date with someone who lied about her age, and then she started stalking me online. I showed him screenshots of all the crazy messages and fake accounts. The officer shook his head and said they see this stuff more than people think. Apparently, Jessica had given her son my address and told him I was some kind of villain who broke her heart. The kid genuinely thought he was protecting his mom. They made him call his mom to come pick him up. When she arrived, I could see her through the window and it was definitely the same woman from the coffee shop. She looked embarrassed as hell when the cops explained what happened. Her son kept pointing at my house and arguing with her. The officers told both of them to stay away from my property or they'd be arrested for harassment. They also suggested the mom get some help because her behavior was concerning. The woman just nodded and looked like she wanted to disappear. I ended up moving 2 months later anyway because work transferred me to a different city.